Hello and welcome to the first in a series of 4 programmes showcasing the work of the Tell Me project. This groundbreaking venture is the brainchild of Professor Hugh Davidson, and with the help of Penny Crichton and Chris Redman, has grown into a true multimedia project. The Tell Me project tasks school children from across the Isle of Man with interviewing a person or persons they know aged 60 or over. This intergenerational education initiative was designed to motivate older people to record their memories by recounting them to children and to enhance understanding between generations. What became apparent from the outset was just how interested the children were in finding out about life in the olden days, and also how keen their interviewees were to tell them what life was like for them 40, 50, 60, or even over 70 years ago. The children were given advice on interview technique and trained to operate mobile recording equipment on their own. So what you're going to hear over the next 4 weeks is the work of primary Year 6 children, aged 10 to 11, and secondary Year 9 children, aged 13 to 14. To start us off, here's Mr. Rod Christopher telling Abigail Christopher and Katie Gregory from Cronkyberry Primary School what it was like growing up not long after the Second World War.
Did you go to the cinema?
Yeah, I went to the cinema every Saturday morning, or most Saturday mornings when I was a kid, yeah. They used to have matinees on, and we paid about threepence in old money to go in, which is just over 1p in today, and there used to be cartoons and a serial, something like Flash Gordon or Superman with a different episode every week, and it kept you going back the next week to see what happened. Good fun, Saturday morning.
Was the cinema black and white?
Oh, it was all black and white. There's no colour. Didn't know about colour. Just black and white.
Did you have a television?
Didn't have a television. No television at all till I was about 16 in the very late 1950s. Yes, no. And then it was a black and white one with a magnifying glass in front of it.
What programmes did you watch?
When I was a kid, we didn't have television, so I didn't watch any television at all till I was 15 or 16 years old, really. The first time I remember watching a television programme was when the Queen Elizabeth, I think it was her coronation I think it was 1952. That was the first time I saw television. And then when we got a television, I wasn't really that bothered about it because I was just at work and didn't really watch much of it.
What kind of films did you watch?
What kind of films did I watch? It would always be an adventure or cowboy and Indian or thrillers, gangsters, action movies really. Action movies, yeah. Black and white on and...
What entertainment did you have?
Before television, when I was growing up, well, we sort of came home from school and we had homework and then we'd go out and we'd play. We'd play either on the streets, we'd play hopscotch, we'd play hide and seek, we'd build things, we'd build bikes, we'd build buggies with 4 wheels that you could be pulled along with a rope and have good fun on and go down hills on them, and because there weren't as many cars in those days. So yeah, we were more inventive, we made things and we played out and we went fishing. And so summer and winter, lots of outdoor fun. We really enjoyed it. And when it went dark, we had to go in and we used to listen to the radio, of course, in those days. And there used to be lots of serials on that. I think there was one called Dick Barton, Special Agent, and he was a spy. And that was on every night from 7 o'clock to about 7:15. And it was very, very exciting to listen to on the radio. I know you can't imagine that now, but and there used to be comedy shows on that. All the comedians, they weren't on television, and they used to put great radio programs out, and we could listen to them at home with our friends and with our mums and dads, and we could laugh and chuckle at home because we didn't have television and video games. We didn't know, they weren't invented, so we had to make our own fun, and we made things and we built dens and hide and seek and all sorts of games. Had lots of fun.
What entertainment did you have at school?
What did we play with at school? Well, it was seasonal at school, really. And when I was very young, the winters we used to be a lot colder than they are now. We snow nearly every winter, and we used to have lots of ice, and we used to make big slides in the playground. And the bigger boys would have these slides that would be very long and very slippy, and they were good fun and quite dangerous. But the world wasn't quite so safety conscious in those days, so we used to play on the slides and throw snowballs, and we had conquer seasons. We used to play football in the schoolyard. We had teams, or small cricket and that thing. But everything was outside. When we had a playtime, you didn't stay in. The teachers used to just shift you outside, whether it was raining or not. Out you had to go, and it was that was it. Life was colder and whatever, and we didn't have central heating at home, and we didn't have fitted carpets in the house. We just had little mats, and it was good.
We wore short trousers. We did not have any jeans. There was no such thing when we were your age and younger. And we wore jumpers. And you couldn't go into a shop and buy jumpers and trousers. There wasn't any. So my mother used to get big jumpers, something left over from my dad or her, and unravel them. Let's pull them all to pieces. They were all wool. And then she would knit new jumpers for each of us.
What did you eat?
We ate fish, lots of vegetables, which we grew ourselves, potatoes and everything in our own garden. We grew a lot of fruit. We had some raspberry canes, apple trees, 2, and 3 pear trees. And so we ate a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables, a lot of fish. Meat was scarce, but Mother could get some meat. And eggs and chickens. We used to have chicken because we lived next door to a farm. So Mum would get chicken and eggs from there. Mother used to make jam and all sorts of things. Most of our food was homemade at home.
Did you have to share a bedroom?
Yes, I shared a bedroom with my 2 brothers. We had a very big bedroom, and we had our own single beds, and my invalid brother was in a cot in my mother's room.
How many rooms do you have in your house?
We had 4 bedrooms, 2 lounges, a big kitchen, and a room which these days you would call, don't know what you call it, we called it a pantry, where we kept food because we didn't have any fridges. So it was a cold, very cold room. Didn't have any windows in. It had mesh, metal mesh on where the window should be, so it's the cold air, and that's where we kept all the food.
Did you have a shed?
We had 2 garden sheds, and we had an outside toilet. We didn't have an indoor toilet, and we didn't have a bathroom. So we used to have a bath in a big tin bath in front of the fire. And we all had to take turns.
How clean was your house?
Very clean. We didn't have carpets. All the floors were wooden, and my mother would have them all scrubbed. And we had in the middle of the floors lino, big squares, and they all had patterns on them. They looked like a carpet, but they were lino. And then we had rugs, and we made the rugs out of rags. Rags are pieces of clothes, everything cut up into strips, and you would get a piece of sacking, and you would push the cloth through it and bring it back the other way and tie it. And we used to sit round the fire doing that at night time.
What toys did you have to play with?
Toys were very few and far between, but we had, and they were German toys, funny enough, so we must have had them before the war started, because they were made in Germany, and they were tin. And my brother Tony and I, we had a taxi. They were quite a big car, and you wound them up with a big key, and they would run round the floor. My brother Alec had a little tin man. He'd be about, 2 foot high, and he used to brush the floor. He had a sweeping brush, and he used to go forwards. That was a wind-up toy as well. We had wooden toys, which my father made, and we had what we called a buggy cart, I think it was called, and that was made out of pieces of wood and old pram wheels, and we used to play outside with that. Other toys we would make ourselves out of stuffing socks and things and making dolls and things like that out of them.
What did you do in your spare time?
Well, we just played, I think. My mother used to be teaching me, because I would be about 7 then. My mother would be teaching me how to cook. That's when I started learning to cook. And so I used to help my mother. My 2 brothers and my invalid brother would be inside if it was wet, just playing with the toys I've just mentioned, or making pictures out of paper, collage, those are called. Just had to make your own amusement or listen to the radio, because there were no televisions then. So we listened to the radio quite a lot. But if it was fine weather, they'd go outside to play.
Was your family nice?
My family, lovely. Yes, very nice.
What punishments did you have?
If you were naughty, you got a smack round the back of the legs or the bottom, and a hard one. And once you'd had that, you didn't go back for a second time. You did as you were told. And that's the way to be.
Mr. Bernard Simpson, interviewed by Mark Kane, Sam Underwood and Lewis Langton from Cronkyberry Primary School. Arbury Primary School pupil Callan Kelly interviewed Sheila Kelly, a former pupil of the school, and started off by asking how she used to get to school when she went there.
We walked. Most people walked in those days.
To Douglas.
Not to Douglas, to Arbury School.
Right.
We walked to Arbury School. When at 11, when you went to high school, we had to catch a train at 7 o'clock in the morning.
That's very early.
Very early. I had to leave home at 6:30 every morning.
Wow.
And walk about 2 miles to the railway station. Do you want to know what it was like going on the train?
Yeah, was it crowded?
Trains were always fairly busy. When you got to Douglas, you had another almost 15 minutes walk to get to the high school. And of course, because the train left at 7, we'd arrive in Douglas at 8-ish. By the time you'd all got off the train and messed around, as children do, and walked to school, it would be around about 8:30. So we were always some of the first to arrive at the school. And I can tell you that by lunchtime, 12 o'clock, we were starving. Absolutely starving.
Did you get lunches at school?
We could have school dinners, or just like you now, you could bring a packed lunch or you could have a school dinner. And I had school dinner.
Right.
And I could never understand how some of the children from Douglas would say, "Ooh, we don't like that." And I used to look at their plate and think, gosh, I could scoff that as well as my dinner. So one day we used to have a prefect sitting at each table.
Yeah. We don't have that now. We just walk
We
around
don't
in the
have
hall as
prefects,
prefects.
do we? Oh,
We
you-
have
you do
prefects. We
have-
just don't sit at the tables. We walk around. So
Well,
it's
we
quite
had
different.
one at each table. And one day this prefect said to me, "Could you have eaten that?" I had my breakfast at 6 o'clock this morning. And she said, "Well, you just eat it and take no notice of these children here, because most of them don't know what a cooked meal is." So from then on, if someone said they would take their meal and they'd say, "I don't want it, I don't like that," I used to say, "Well, just leave it there and I'll have it after mine." Sounds awfully greedy, that, but when you've breakfasted at 6 o'clock, run 2 miles to catch a train, had an hour's train journey, another walk, got to school, you were ready for your lunch at 12 o'clock, weren't you?
Yeah. It would be.
Hello, my name is Claire Harris and I go to Arbury School. And I am interviewing Vincent Cornelius about his life for the Tell Me project. He is my granddad and is 75 years old. At present he lives at Port St Mary. Grandad, Cornelius is an unusual name. Are you British?
Well, I was born and bred in Widnes, but my grandparents, on my dad's side, they came from Lithuania. But my father was born in Scotland, and my mother was born in Ireland. My mother was born in Clonmel in County Tipperary. And so I've got a wonderful pedigree. I'm one step up from a mongrel.
Where did you live when you were younger?
When I was younger, I lived in a suburb of Widnes called Ditton.
Did you have any brothers or sisters?
Yes, I had 6 brothers and 1 sister.
What were their names?
Their names, well, there was Terence, he was the eldest. God rest his soul, he got killed in an accident. Then there was myself. Then there was our Lawrence, our Dennis, our Tony, and then there was our Eileen, Brendan and Frankie.
How did that affect your life?
How did it affect my life? Well, it was great to have a big family, because you always had people to play with and you know, to do something with. But it was a bit hard. You know, we were a big family, and we were, you know, a big Catholic family, and big Catholic family were normally poor, and we were poor. And but having a big family, it was always a fight for food. And in point of fact, I thought knives and forks were jewellery, you know.
What did you do for fun?
Well, for fun, we played all sorts of games. We played marbles, we played football, we played tick and pass, we played cricket. We were always playing, and during the autumn time, we went. We used to go pinching apples, what we call scrumping. We used to go haymaking, and pea picking. It was always. It was very, very. We had a very full life, a very busy life, and of course we used to listen to the radio over night time, and there were some great shows. There were some great shows on the radio.
Can you remember anything about the war from when you were little?
Yes, from when I was. I can remember. Well, one big event really was when they shot down a German plane, and it came down not far away from us, probably about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile as the crow flies, and 2 of the German aircraft men bailed out, and they landed in a tree. What happened then was the Home Guard went out to capture them, you know, to bring them in, and I can remember quite vividly walking them past our house, and they were frightened to death, these two Germans, and there was about 10 or 12 people like marching round them, all in the clothes, like just the civvies, and they had sticks and all sorts. And one fella, a fella called Oliver Twist, God rest his soul, he had a gun, but it was just like Dad's army. It was a scream, really.
What school did you go to when you were younger?
I went to a school called St Michael's. That was in Ditton. It was a Catholic school. It was a very good school, and we had an excellent headmaster, a chap called Eddie Murphy.
What was it like there?
It was very, very good. I had plenty of pals, plenty of mates, plenty of good friends, and I say at playtime we always played different games, and lots of the lads that I went to school with lived in close proximity to us, so you were pals, you know, after school, in school and after school.
So, did you enjoy school?
I did enjoy school. It was very good, yeah, I enjoyed it.
What was your favourite lesson and why?
My favourite lesson, believe it or not, was maths. And the reason why it was my favourite lesson is that I could do them. And so I quite enjoyed it.
What did you do when you left school?
When I left school, I went to work at the ICI. I worked on a plant called the Thio plant, and we used to fill these bags of crystals and run them up a hill, and then we used to stitch the tops of the bags up. And then at 16, I became an apprentice boilermaker at ICI, but you could not take your you could not start your apprenticeship until you were 16, and I became an apprentice boilermaker, and I served 5 years at the ICI, indentured to the ICI, and then became a boilermaker.
What sports did you play?
At school, our headmaster, Eddie Murphy, was he used to play for Essex, and so we I don't know, we played for the first team, we played for the second team, but he was very, very keen on cricket, and so we always had a real good cricket side.
Did you play any sports when you left school?
Yes, I did. We still continued playing cricket and second pass and that, but I was born and bred in a town called Widnes, and Widnes was famous for its rugby team. They had a rugby league side, and I started to play them for a team called West Bank Juniors, and I played for them, and I played for them in the under-17 league, and what you used to do is you used to get scouts coming round, looking at all these teams, these local sides, to see if they were if they were any good, if they were good enough to turn professional, because rugby league was professional, and there was lots of big teams, like there was St Helens, there was Wigan, there was Warrington, all in close proximity, and so some scouts from St Helens had seen me play, and they asked me if I'd like to turn pro, and well, you didn't ask you to turn. You went down and you played trials. You used to offer you to play trials, and so I went down and I played trials at St Helens. I was they said, well, you play 6 trials, but after 2 trials they came to terms with me. I got a signing on fee. I got £200, which was a big sum of money in them days, and I turned pro.
Did you carry on playing rugby?
Yep, I did. I was very fortunate, because I had quite an illustrious career really in the rugby world. I mean, I went on to become a member of the first team. I captained St Helens then. I captained them at Wembley. We won the cup. I played twice for St Helens at Wembley. On both occasions we won the cup, and then I went on tour when I was at St Helens, and I toured with the Great Britain side. We toured Australia and New Zealand, and I got nicknamed the Wild Bull of the Pampas. I think the only reason they called me that was because they couldn't pronounce my name properly. But and then I had a business. We had a business going. We had a firm called Corellius Brothers Limited, and that was a scrap metal business, and the business was doing quite well, and I wasn't paying an awful lot of attention to my football, to my rugby then, and so. But Widnes came on the scene, and I was transferred to Widnes, and fortunately enough, I captained them at Wembley. We went to Wembley again, and I won the cup. We won the cup again, and then when I finished playing, after a few years out the game, they came down and asked me if I'd coached the side, and I did do, and again with success. We went to Wembley twice, and we won the cup twice. So it wasn't a bad career, really, was it?
When did you stop playing rugby?
When I was about 32 or 33, I'm not quite sure what age it was really, but around about that age.
Thank you, Grandad, for telling me about your life. It was very interesting.
It's my pleasure.
You've been listening to recordings made for the Tell Me project, presented for Manx Radio by me, Mark Tiley. Join me next week at the same time, when amongst the memories, we take a good look at old-style policing.